a website. It's on this sheet that I sat by the door. You can find all your media information there. We'll have transcripts there, press conferences, everything like that, photos, post game. Credential request will also be on that page. Currently it is set up, but there aren't games, and we're going to write game by game request option. Each month you can request for that month's games, but we don't have a schedule yet, so we will wait on that, and I'll send out information as I get it. With that being said, I will open it up for a quick reader.
All right. Well, just like this, our spring and summer have been very different. Kind of unusual, but I'm really happy with our team's commitment and their just attention to detail of focusing and not worrying about the unknown, but instead preparing like the Big Ten tournament is tomorrow. And I couldn't ask for a better group of how that they've prepared and come into practice every day with masks and having to practice and just being very aware when they're away from the arena on how they have to be so careful to protect themselves and to protect our team. And so I've just been extremely proud of the young women and what they've done. You look at this year, obviously the last couple of years we've lost a lot in graduation. And when you think of the last 3 years, a Big Ten Player of the Year has been wearing an Iowa women's basketball jersey. And so that's a lot of loss over the last couple of years. But we're kind of focusing instead on what we return. And obviously, I want to start that conversation with Monica Czinano. Monica was a first-team All-Big Ten selection as a sophomore. It's really remarkable. I mean, she was the second best field goal shooter in America last year. If she would have made 2 more field goals, she would have led the country in scoring. 2 more in field goal percentage and 2 more, field goals over the course of 30 games. Her improvement from freshman to sophomore year, I think was nothing but remarkable, and her commitment. So I'm so excited to have Monica for a few more years, and I think she's just continued her growth over the past year. Lexi Civilian returns as a 5th-year senior for us. She is also a captain along with Kate Martin and Zion Sanders. All 3 of those women have done a really terrific job of just their leadership, kind of during this uncertain time. McKenna Warnock returns. McKenna was on the all-freshman team. Just a terrific power forward for us. She rebounds well. In addition, she can really, be physical inside, but also bring people out for 3-point shooting, and so she really can stretch the defense as well. Gabby Marshall has also really improved, and really, I just feel like all of our returners made some significant progress over the summer. We also, as you know, have the 17th ranked recruiting class coming in here. Caitlin Clark leads that. Caitlin being a 5-star recruit. She was the 4th best player in America last year, the 2nd best point guard in America from Dowling Catholic. She was a McDonald's All-American, the Iowa Player of the Year, the Gatorade Player of the Year. She's won 2 gold medals in USA basketball. And she holds state records for most points in a game with 60 and most 3-pointers in a game with 13. So some pretty remarkable statistics. And Caitlin is coming here expecting to contribute right away, and she will be contributing right away. So we're excited to have that next point guard. We've had so many great point guards come through our system, and excited about this one. Lauren Jensen also is joining that recruiting class. Lauren is from Lakeville North High School. She shot 45% from 3-point range in high school, 25-point per game average, and she was a finalist for Miss Minnesota basketball. And this, for those of you that don't know, the #1 player in America was from the state of Minnesota. So not bad to be a finalist to the #1 player in America. Sharon Goodman is an Iowan that comes from Crestwood High School. She is the she was the Player of the Year for the 3A in her junior season, all-state selection as well. And Shatia Wettering is from Montezuma, Iowa, our closest recruit, the all-time leading scorer at Montezuma, and she's also won 2 national AAU basketball tournaments. So our schedule, I can't really talk about. We still don't have one. It's kind of an unusual situation, and that's what we talked about with our players. You know, never have we went into a season not knowing who we're going to play, where we're going to play, or when we're going to play until this year. it is what it is. We just have to be ready for everybody. We're trying to schedule our 3 in-state schools along with 2 other non-conference. We'll only have 5 non-conference this year, and we've moved our Big Ten schedule from 18 to 20, along with playing the Big Ten tournament a week later than it has been. So that's it's still a work in progress. But I do know the Big Ten is going to be, and I probably say this every year, but I really believe it, as strong as it's ever been. I mean, we just did not graduate a lot from the conference. There was some within conference transfers, but obviously those players are experienced and have all been really given immediate eligibility. So I'm sure there might be some questions I can answer.
With that, we'll open up questions.
Coach, you said last year not to compare Monica to Megan, but I thought Monica went to her left better than Megan went to her right her sophomore year, because Monica seemed like she could score either way when she was down low.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Don. I think that's true. I think Monica uses her left probably better than Megan used her right as far as at a sophomore. But Monica continues to improve. She's very physical. She's more of a vocal leader this year than she was last year. And she knows the team is counting on her to put the bucket, put the hole in the basket in the hole.
Did that surprise you a little bit with her field goal percentage? I mean, she was just tough down low. I mean,
I'd be silly to say that I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, come on. I mean, she goes from being really a very role player her freshman year to being the 2nd best field goal shooter in America. So who wouldn't be surprised by that? That was remarkable.
Talk about her budding leadership. I mean, you look at her career, she kind of had, I guess, a good trajectory to learn early and watch Megan, and then have, a bigger role last year, and then now it's kind of her team in a sense in terms of what you count on, just in terms of molding her into that leader, that person that you hear the most. I mean, how has she transitioned into that role, among other things?
I think she's doing a great job leading, and she's not a captain. I think as a sophomore, we needed her to work on so many other things and concentrate on so many other things that I didn't want that to be on her plate as well. But she is a leader just because that's the type of person she is. And I don't want to say this is her team. I don't think anybody ever feels that way with our basketball teams. We try to be really balanced. But certainly having a great inside attack like Monica opens up things for our three-point shooting. We still want to play the same style. We want to get up and down and run, and she does a great job with that in the inside position. But also we want to pass the ball really well. She's a wonderful target to pass the ball to. She's got great hands.
You talk about leadership and vocalness and all that stuff, and you notice that in Kathleen. Where does that come from?
Yeah, and that's what I'm really missing the most right now is that emotional leadership. Kathleen just wore her heart on her sleeve, and sometimes that can be a detriment, but most of the times it's really positive. And I just think that a lot of times as a point guard, a lot of people feed off of your energy, and she just brought that all the time in practice and in games. And so other people are kind of having to step up in that role. Again, I'm not really expecting Caitlin as a freshman to do that, but people like Kate Martin and Monica are really doing a good job with that.
What have you seen from Caitlin so far?
Well, you better be ready to guard her when she crosses the half-court line. I mean, she's a player that loves to shoot the ball and has tremendous range, but I think sometimes that her passing gets overlooked. I mean, we have had so many oh wow moments in practice already. I mean, highlight type passes. We had one today. I mean, like, put that on the highlight film already because it was so unbelievable. So I think sometimes people overlook how good of a passer she is just because she's such a tremendous scorer.
Not had somebody come in with her credentials right away, expecting big things, from game one. Just as you've got to see her mental makeup more up close and how she's handled all that came in high school and will here as well, what has impressed you the most from that aspect of her?
I love how coachable she is. I mean, she really wants to learn. She wants to get better. She asks questions. She comes and watches film. I've been very, very pleased with how coachable she is and how much she understands she still has to learn. Sometimes people can come in with that kind of accolades and think they know it all, and that's not at all how Caitlin acts.
Last year we saw McKenna Warnock step up in some big moments in some tough games against top 25 teams, and really felt like she was taking over at the end of games, and as a freshman that's pretty special. Kind of what do you think her ceiling is, particularly when you think about the performances in games like that?
Yeah, McKenna just did a tremendous job, and the reward at the end of the year, being on the all-freshman team, was very, very deserved. I just think, I mean, McKenna's going to probably move into our starting position this year as a power forward. And, you know, all four of our guards kind of all do the same thing, basically. But I think McKenna has gotten stronger. I think she can go both hands a little bit better than she has. And so I think that McKenna can be one of our top rebounders. We lose Amanda. Amanda was our best offensive rebounder. We need offensive rebounds. And I think we can get that out of McKenna this year.
You mentioned this is the second year in a row you're coming to this press conference and you've lost the Big Ten Player of the Year.
Three.
Yeah, well, three, but you lost two years in a row. You lost them. So do you think that there might be a player on this roster, maybe a couple options, who could be in competition to make it a fourth straight Iowa women's basketball player, Big Ten Player of the Year?
You know, I don't know about fourth straight, but I think ultimately we could have one of those players in an Iowa jersey this year. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but I think ultimately we could. I mean, we're a very young team. And you know, we're optimistic, but we're also realize that what other people in the Big Ten have returning in their very senior-dominated teams, and we're not. I mean, we could possibly start, you know, not have any seniors in our starting lineup.
How much will you need Clark to score? I mean, obviously that's what she was known for in high school. How much is she going to have to do that this year?
I think she's going to have to do it because that's her game. And I think she will be out of sorts if she's not doing that, if she doesn't have the ball in her hands, if she's not looking for that. So I don't think we'll see the best Caitlin unless she is really looking to score. But again, I caution her and really all of us that, you know, she's not going to put up the numbers she did in high school. I mean, she averaged 35 points a game or something crazy like that. I mean, no, we're a balanced team. And she's smart, and she's played out with enough good players with the USA basketball experience that she understands that. And she knows this isn't going to be a one-woman show. She understood that when we recruited her.
What was the sales pitch you think you sold her on?
Taking us back to the Final Four. I mean, that's really something that we want to do. We want to get back to the Final Four, and it hasn't been done since we've been here. We were one game shy a couple of years ago. Why not? And I think that wearing the Iowa jersey is also something really special for young ladies that grow up in this state, to be able to put on the University of Iowa jersey and walk out of that tunnel into our great attendance that we get here. It's pretty special.
Lisa, you've always had great crowds at games, and what is it going to be like to not have fans, and how is that going to impact the game?
And Tom, I'm worried about that because I think that our fan support has been so outstanding. I mean, in the last 2 years, we've been in the top 10 in the nation in attendance, and I am concerned because I think they bring a great energy to our arena. I mean, we haven't lost here for 2.5 years. Part of that is because we've had good teams. Part of that is because we have a great home court advantage. Our home court advantage was based on our very vocal, knowledgeable fans. And not having that, I think, is going to take a little bit of our energy away, and we're going to have to find our own energy to play this year. Now, I always think that's kind of a silly thing to say because who wouldn't want to play the game you love as a 20-year-old? You know, you should have energy all the time, but it sure is nice, you know, late in the game when you'd have that crowd just, you know, really get behind you and really drive you.
Is that more challenging with a younger team like you might have this year?
I think it is. I think it is because they don't know what it was like to play into Carver, but they also don't understand how to play 40 minutes, right? They've not done that before. They don't understand how physical the game is. They don't understand all those things. So I think, you know, having that comfort of having all those fans behind you taken away is a little bit of a detriment.
Like Caitlin, she played with the USA basketball. She got a lot of those high-level games, so you think that'll maybe give her a little head start on what to expect, the physicality of the game?
I absolutely do. I think when you have experiences like that, when you're playing not only against the best in the United States, but the best in the world, you have a head start on everybody. I mean, you know the game, you know how it's played at that level. I think it's a huge advantage.
You're looking at Nana, kind of over reputation of, you know,
I'm so excited about Sharon Goodman. You know, I think last year, excuse me, one of our downfalls is that we didn't have a good backup 5. And now, this year, we have 2 exceptional post players. Sharon is playing as well as Monica in practice. I mean, it would be hard right now. I mean, right now, Monica has the start because of the experience level. But I am not going to hesitate to go to the bench and to use Sharon and to have the comfort of knowing that you have, 10 fouls to give down there is tremendous. And not us having to change our game plan so much when Monica, needs a break or gets into foul trouble or something. Sharon is strong. She has improved her hands. She runs the floor. She is shooting about 70% in practice, the same as Monica. I am been extremely pleased with Sharon Goodman.
What do you expect the three-year affecting the women's game? For example, Monica could play 3 more years at Iowa because of the eligibility. How do you see that unfolding?
Well, I could see it being a real positive. I mean, if Monica, decides to come back for that extra year, boy, to have her, be in that starting position for 4 years or, having that much experience, I just know a lot of people would love to have 2 posts like we have right now, and they're freshman and junior. So if, you have that experience around for that long of a time, I think it could really bode well for us.
What do you expect from Megan Meyer this season?
Megan has also improved tremendously. 3-point shooting has been incredible, off the charts. She has really moved up in the rotations. So I'm excited about the progress that Megan has made.
You mentioned Lexi, captain, obviously, somebody who's been here for a while. Maybe at times in her career, her playing time or whatnot has not gone exactly how she wanted, but with, openings in that backcourt with Kinsey and Captain moving on, how do you see her presence and just her veteran demeanor, leaving in and having her?
We need it. We need that veteran, that maturity out there on the court, especially since we are so young. Lexi's been hampered a little bit with injuries throughout her career. I just would love for her to have a pain-free senior year. She has knocked down some big shots for us. When you think of Lexi over time and, at Minnesota last year, we're down 2, she knocks down a 3 with seconds to go, or Maryland here. I mean, she's knocked down some big shots. And so I continue to look for that. But more importantly than that, to me, is the leadership, the maturity of knowing how to handle situations.
How does Kate Martin's game evolve?
Just more confident now. I think last year we didn't see Kate nearly at what Kate was able to do because of the knee injury her freshman year and not playing and then having to play in a brace last year. This year, no brace, just plays with a lot more freedom, a lot more confidence. She's a very vocal kid. She's emotional. Like I said, she's somebody that we can get that from, that energy from. She's playing tremendous game from last year, tremendously better.
So playing 3 in-state schools, I see from Western Illinois, what effect you're playing now. Are you involved with anybody else for that position?
We're trying. We're still looking. It's not easy. And quite honestly, the Big Ten was really late in deciding that we were going to play non-conference games, and so everybody else had kind of been jumping on them. So it's a little bit tough to find that. And if we don't, we don't. We'll play 24 this year. But 25 is the goal.
We've seen it on the men's side, the success that they've had from going to 20 conference games, just kind of strengthening everybody's schedule sort of top to bottom. Do you see that as something that could stick, and what are your feelings about that?
I don't think so. We've been kind of assured from the ADs that this is a 1-year adjustment, and I think it's a smart adjustment this year because we want to play in the Big Ten. I mean, it's for health reasons, competition level. I mean, playing in the Big Ten is the best. So we're glad that we're able to play 20 this year. but we would rather go back to 18. I mean, the recipe for our success has been the 18. I mean, last year we had a great number, or we were going to have a really good number from the Big Ten getting at-large bids, and so I think we have a good recipe for success right now for our conference, being ranked like second best in the country, and so I think we'll be okay.
Lisa, you look at, you mentioned Caitlin being from Iowa and wanting to wear the team name on her jersey. You're from Iowa, you played here, your assistants are from Iowa. A lot of the great players that you coached are from Iowa. You set some pride in the state, and then, of course, for yourself and coaching here. I mean, I know you guys helped with the derecho cleanup, if I recall, so.
I am so thankful that I get to be the coach here. I mean, this is 21 years. I pinch myself that I get to do this, that I am the women's basketball coach at the University of Iowa. I take that, I am so proud of that. I am so thankful that I get this opportunity. And for me to have, Jan and Jenny and Abby all from the state on our staff, yeah, it's special when you get to coach Iowa girls, and that doesn't take anything away from the women that come from out of state. I know their commitment, they're traveling farther, but almost every one of those women, when they leave our program, they always are like, I'll always be an Iowan now. I mean, Megan feels that way. Tanaya feels that way. It's what I hear all the time is that they're so proud that they chose to come here, and they feel so proud that they played here. But man, when you're an Iowan, it's special. It really is. I joke sometimes, it's almost like a religious experience when you put on that Iowa jersey for the first time and walk out of that tunnel.
Speaking of your staff, I noticed Hannah Bluer's on your staff. How did that become to be?
Well, Hugo got our director of operations from last year, got an assistant coaching position closer to her hometown, so as an advancement, happy for her. But this late in the game, it was a little bit hard to go out during COVID and to find a director of operations. Hannah has graduated from our sports administration program here, had all the qualifications, is working on her master's degree, so I'm really glad to have her in this temporary role.
Last question.
Gabby came out with 5 straight against Rutgers. Is she a little more consistent this year on the threes?
I would say so, yeah. I would say that she's definitely more consistent in the three-point shooting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.